All right. We're diving into a legal battle that absolutely rocked the K-pop world. We're talking about the superstar group NewJeans and their agency ADOR. And look, this is way more than just another contract dispute. This is a landmark case that has set a brand new precedent for the entire industry. So let's break down what happened and, more importantly, why it matters so much. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at how the group basically split in two, right in public. Then we'll dig into the conflict itself. After that, we get into the nitty-gritty of the contract that was at the center of it all. We'll see what the court ultimately decided, and then wrap up with the big one, what this all means for K-pop's new rulebook. So first up, a group divided. You know, this whole saga didn't start in a stuffy courtroom. Nope, it kicked off with a very public, very messy fracture within the group itself, and that's what really set the stage for the legal war that was about to come.
So think about this for a second. After this huge lawsuit, how did the 5 members of NewJeans let everyone know they were coming back? The answer is, well, it's complicated, and it tells you everything you need to know about the deep cracks that had already formed long before any verdict was handed down.
Okay, just look at this. It's pretty wild. On one side, you've got 2 members, Haerin and Hye-in, going through the official agency channels, playing by the rules. But then, the other 3, Minji, Hani, and Danielle, they released their own statement through their lawyers. 2 completely separate channels, 2 completely different narratives. This wasn't just a simple disagreement. This was basically a public announcement that the house was divided. So, Section 2, the heart of the conflict. I mean, how does a professional dispute spiral into an all-out legal war? To really get why the court ruled the way it did, we have to rewind and see how things got to this point in the first place. And man, did things escalate fast. Just look at this timeline. In November 2024, the members drop a bombshell. They're terminating their contract. A month later, the agency fires back with a lawsuit. Then the court steps in and puts a freeze on everything, blocking the members from working anywhere else. And see this part here? 2 failed mediation sessions. That tells you they tried to talk it out, but they were just too far apart. At that point, you just knew this was headed for a major courtroom showdown. So, what was NewJeans' side of the story? Well, their entire case really boiled down to 3 main points. First, their trusted producer was removed, and they argued that was a massive breach of their deal. Second, they claimed the agency totally failed in its duty to protect them, from things like concept copying, photo leaks, even internal bullying. And the big one, they said the trust between them and the agency was just completely and totally shattered, beyond repair. All right, part 3, the contract on trial. Now, to really understand why the court made the call it did, we've got to get into the weeds a bit. We need to look at the single most important piece of evidence in this whole thing, the contract itself. Let's see what was actually written on the page.
And right at the very beginning, the contract lays out its purpose. It's supposed to be this big partnership where everyone works together for their mutual benefit and development. I mean, it sounds great, right? All about teamwork and shared success. At least that's what it says on paper.
But here's the clause where the power dynamic gets spelled out clear as day. The contract gives the agency exclusive management rights. And that's not just for making music, it's for everything, all entertainment activities. And what that really means is, when it comes to the big business decisions, the agency, not the artists, holds all the cards. Full stop. Now, take a look at this. This is basically the legal escape hatch, and let me tell you, it is tiny. Article 15 sets an unbelievably high bar for getting out. You can't just leave, you have to prove a violation of an important duty. And even if you can do that, you have to give the agency 14 days to fix the problem. This isn't an exit door. It's a legal fortress, and it was designed to be almost impossible to break out of. Okay, Section 4, the court's final word. So, keeping those contract terms in mind, let's dive into how the court actually saw these arguments and what it decided in its final, game-changing verdict. And the result was a clean sweep for the agency. The court came down and made it official. The contract is valid and remains in full effect. Every single argument the members put forward to try and get out of it was rejected. This quote from the court's decision is absolutely crucial. So much of the members' case was built around their producer, but the court basically said, show us in the contract where it says she is an essential part of this deal. And, well, it wasn't there. There was no key man clause, which is the legal term for when a specific person is named as vital to a contract. Without that in writing, how the members felt about her was, legally speaking, irrelevant. The big takeaway? If it isn't written in the contract, it doesn't count in court. And that whole breakdown of trust argument, it just completely fell apart. The court found evidence suggesting this wasn't some spontaneous falling out. Instead, it looked like part of a calculated plan by the producer to try and take the group independent. The court essentially concluded that, look, your feelings of distrust might be genuine, but they seem to be a result of this plan, not because the agency did anything to breach the contract. And subjective feelings, no matter how strong, aren't enough to tear up a contract without a real objective violation.
All right, our final section, K-pop's new rules. And this is so important because this ruling was never, ever just about NewJeans. It sent a shockwave across the entire K-pop industry, setting a powerful new standard for how artists and agencies will operate from now on.
To really understand the massive impact here, we have to quickly talk about a legal concept called precedent. It sounds complicated, but it's really simple. It just means that this decision now serves as a powerful example, or a guide, for any other similar cases that come up in the future. So this isn't just the end of one story, it's the beginning of a new rulebook.
So what's the new reality for K-pop? Well, there are three huge shifts. First, agency contracts are now legally stronger than ever. Basically, they're ironclad. It's going to be a lot harder for artists to leave mid-contract. Second, the bar for getting out is now sky high. Things like creative differences or a change in management, the court just said that's not going to cut it. And third, here's an interesting side effect. This actually lowers the risk for investors. With more stable contracts, they might feel safer pouring money into the next generation of K-pop groups.
So in the end, this case solidifies the legal power of the written contract, bringing a new level of stability to the business of K-pop. But it leaves us with this one big lingering question. In an industry that's built on creativity and collaboration, when the law makes stability the ultimate priority, what happens to the trust that's supposed to be the foundation of it all?